Welcome, Michael. So good to see you again. I was wondering if you'd tell me a bit about what you guys at Broadhaven are investing in at the moment in FinTech.
Yeah, so at Broadhaven, we are seed and Series A stage fintech investors. We invest globally, mainly with a focus on United States, Latin America, and we have companies in Israel and Europe as well. Majority of our portfolio tends to be US and LATAM companies, since we spend a lot of time with our companies and like to be able to get to places where we can fly easily and actually be on the ground, sit on boards, things like that.
Right. And what sort of FinTech are you investing in?
Yeah, so we invest in both consumer fintech and enterprise fintech. I think we initially, kind of a few years ago, saw fintech and incumbent partnerships being a key theme. I think over time you've seen that be a little bit less the case, where fintechs are trying to do it kind of go alone, build standalone large businesses. So I think that's why it's important to have consumer fintech companies in the portfolio, and that's where you can create large amount of enterprise value, but we still see a ton of value in enterprise, and we certainly like the SMB space a lot. I think both in US and LATAM, there's massive markets to do things like bank the small business, provide accounting software to them, provide financial services, whether it's lending, corporate cards, all sorts of things. So kind of the entry point can be either a software product or a SaaS product or a financial product like a lending product. So I think we're pretty excited about, with regards to the enterprise space, SMB when it comes to fintech.
Okay. And where do you see the issues for FinTech at the moment?
Yeah, so I think this is probably a more global point rather than just fintech.
Yeah.
Not just related to the fintech ecosystem, but I think valuations are pretty high, generally speaking.
Okay.
I think that's just a symptom of where venture is in the cycle right now. You see a lot of companies, particularly on the consumer side, be valued pretty highly relative to traction they may have. And I think that's going to be kind of, let's see how that plays out. I think the other thing about fintech, when I see kind of issues in the fintech space are, or questions that I have about the fintech space are where a lot of these consumer fintech plays going to go, particularly in the US. So you have a lot of de novo digital banks being created. You have a lot of companies trying to create debit cards or credit cards and really own the customer. I'm curious to see how that'll play out, just because I think there's a ton of competitors in the space. You need a lot of money. You need the regulatory aspect of things. So not sure how the consumer side of fintech space will play. The consumer side of fintech will play out, particularly in the US.
Okay. And what's your personal vision of where you think things are going as regards FinTech in the future?
So in the US, I think I'll speak to the fact that I think everything is becoming fintech. So you have a lot of brands. Lyft, for example, created a debit card product for drivers, and almost like a bank, or financial services products. So I think what you'll see in the US and then also in less developed markets is that there's going to be a lot of companies that end up not starting out as fintech companies, but that end up as fintech companies. So I think what that means is, there's going to be really interesting infrastructure businesses that get started to power companies or brands that become fintechs, enable them to offer a lending product, or a bank account or a debit card or payroll advance, something like that. So I could see a lot of major brands that own the customer end up wanting to own the customer in their financial life as well, and using back-end infrastructure providers to do that. And you have incumbent banks that are thinking about this as well. There's some very innovative incumbent banks in BKC, Evolve Bank and Trust in Tennessee, Bancorp. So I think that'll be a really interesting thing to see how that plays out. And I view it as kind of like everything can become a fintech company, because financial services touches so many aspects of people's lives. Yeah. And then I think in Latin America, where we invest a lot, I think that theme is even more protracted. And our view in Latin America actually is that many of the non-fintech companies are the ones that will become the fintech companies, because in some cases, like in Asia, where kind of you have these super app platforms, I think in Latin America, you're seeing a lot of companies that have high frequency usage models, whether it be delivery apps like Rappi, they have Rappi Pay, scooter and bikes or mobility businesses like Grin, Yellow, which is now a business called Grow Mobility. I think businesses like that have the ability to touch the customer in so many ways, and they can then end up offering financial services and banking products to end up serving an entirely underserved set of customers, 400 million unbanked people in Latin America. So I think that's going to be a really interesting theme when it comes to Latin America, is non-fintechs becoming fintechs.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thanks for enlightening me. I'm looking forward to the panel. I'm sure I'm going to find out more. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Pimo. Appreciate it.